Hello everybody, if you don't know, I'm swabeysquats and this is
muzzahealth.
I'm also known as Jade Swabey and
Bella Williams.
so we are just joining together. We're doing a little collab and we've done a little bit of a cooking together. We've done some steak, pumpkin and some egg. We're just going to do like a little mukbang, a little sit down and chat and just take along with the ride with us. So hope you enjoy and we'll get straight into it.
A semi-professional athlete yourself and someone who also is a PT and loves gaining muscle, how you work on balancing your sport performance while also tackling the idea of and the pressure of having to like gain muscle and like be in the gym.
It's a heavy question.
How do you balance that?
Oh, okay. In regards to, I won't ever put pressure on in regards to gym programming. If I'm in season, like for example, I'm in like pre-season, I've got 4 to 5 more weeks before I get into playing AFL again after my ACL, MCL tear. I've gone away from, I was in like a little bit of like a bulking, eating more, not putting out as much energy stage. And now I'm like, that's not maintainable because I'm putting out so much energy. So there's no point in me trying to go, oh, I normally have this, this and this for lunch, but then I'm also done an extra 2Ks, let me eat something else. I'm like, if I'm hungry, I'm hungry. If I'm not, I'm not. I'm focusing on the athletic performance, which is what I focus on in the gym as well now. So instead of it being completely bodybuilding, I'll also put in some plyo jumps, some conditioning work, some like off-feet stuff. It's very different though to what I used to do. I used to do, before my ACL, MCL, bodybuilding pretty much training, and then just did the sessions Tuesday, Thursday, and then the game on the Saturday. But now I incorporate with Athletes Authority, all my sessions have plyos and performance enhancers in them in regards to going back to the field and making it transfer. I think the pressure is in the goals that you set yourself. If you're playing semi-professional sport, the goal to get like a bodybuilding physique is not going to happen because the bodybuilders track everything they eat, everything they do, all that extra like movement and stuff that you're doing at training, they're not doing. They're going for a 30-minute fasted cardio walk instead.
The thing that you touched on there was that it depends on the goals that you're setting. So if your goals are, for example, to gain muscle, to get like grow your booty and stuff, but you're also an athlete, it's important to prioritize one thing, and you can still achieve both, but not at the same time.
Yeah.
And one might be come after the other.
Yeah, and like I've, throughout the whole 9 months that I've been recovering now, I've kept my booty and I've built more strength than I've ever had before because I was so focused on the eating and I wasn't doing the extra work in regards to running and stuff like that. The past, I want to say 2-3 months, I've incorporated running. Yes, I'm still maintaining my bum and my strength, but I'm not going to be building much strength anymore in the amount of efficient excess I was prior to running. It's like my upper body and my lower body strength is the best it's ever been, even though I was post-injury, but now it won't be all like this. It'll start to plateau a bit because now I'm adding in so much more excess in like the off-field stuff.
So are you focusing right now on maintaining what you've had and what you've built during your off-season, and then now really focusing on your performance as you're coming up to like your AFL season now?
2 sides to the coin that I just gave you. I'm always going to get better.
Yeah.
I'm always going to aim to be 1% better. If that's in my lifts, how I look, everything, I'm always aiming to be better. If that means getting more like building a bigger bum, bigger shoulders, whatever it is, lifting 10 kilos heavier, I'm still aiming every day to do that in my program. If I can't do it, it doesn't matter, but I'm aiming to get there every time. So my program hasn't actually changed in regards to how I would have done it 4 weeks ago. When I wasn't doing an extra off-feet conditioning, it's the exact same, so I'm still aiming for the same goal. I'm just incorporating more rest, recovery, and then focusing on, okay, I did actually do a bit extra today. I actually might need more food to actually restore the muscles that I just tore.
Yep.
Not because I want to get bigger, it's because I'm like, it's actually smarter to refuel more today because I did much more today.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think I covered that.
I think you definitely covered that well.
Like my goal won't change ever. I always want to be better. I'm not just going to yes, I am maintaining, but I don't want to just maintain. I still today tried to get 3 reps at the 60 kilos for every 4 sets, even though I had just run before because that's what I want to get to next week.
Bench press, by the way, that's not squatting, it's like bench.
So I think the idea of when you have to do a maintenance is that you just stop. stop trying. I'm like, no, what's the point? Because then in 4 weeks when I go, or 12 months, when I decide, I actually want to get better at this, I could have done that 12 months ago.
100%.
Like if I'm still doing it now, then in the 12 months or whenever I set that goal, I'll have already achieved it.
It's so true. And I think like on that as well, like even when people are in a calorie deficit, they can still get stronger. And so you can
It's
still...
just harder.
Exactly, it's harder. And so as long as like your priorities are in the right place and you're not putting too much pressure on yourself to achieve too many goals at the exact same time.
It is going to be harder. A lot of people are like, I'll lose weight and get stronger. I'm like, okay, but as long as you understand that one, it's going to take longer on both sides. Two, it's going to be it's going to be horrible. It's going to be a fucking grind. It's not going to be easy because someone eating 10 steaks a day compared to you having 1 apple a day is going to be able to pump that shit. Like they're going to be like fucking it up in the gym. You're probably not going to be fucking it up in the gym. Yes, in 12 months you might fuck it up in the gym, but you're going to have to wait like a long time compared to someone else. It's less efficient. It's harder and it's less efficient. You're not working smarter, you're just working harder, and someone who's working harder and not smarter won't get the best outcome.
And do you reckon it's detrimental for people who start to, like say if they're in a performance phase and they're doing a sport, then when they start comparing themselves to other athletes who are just in there just trying to build muscle, do you reckon it's like really detrimental to their own performance if you start comparing yourself to other people?
And that's just in general life, in everything, business, relationships, any of that. One, you don't know what they're doing it for, how they do it, like what commitments they're actually putting in, what they're not putting in. But two, completely different people. Even if we are the same, so you're semi-professional, I want to be semi-professional and I'm leading into it and I prior was, we are doing different sport, different routine. We both eat differently, different times of the day. You go to uni, I work full-time at home. I'm a personal trainer, so I actually exert a bit more training at home for work. That might not be taken into account for you when you sit down and do uni 4 hours a day. Like every person's different and having that comparison, yes, we're all going to have that comparison because everyone's competitive, everyone wants to win. But comparing yourself because they've got this and you don't have this, what are the variables? Because they probably look at you and go, oh, she's got that, I don't have that. What are the variables? Like you're not working towards the same thing. We both want a bigger bum, but also do you want to do 10K steps a day? Because I don't. That's why my bum's bigger. Like simple math.
But you were speaking as well about how you really like focus on fueling yourself every day, and that's a big factor. So what's your nutrition looking like lately, and what do you find like fuels yourself best, keeping in mind that obviously everyone feels best fueling themselves differently, but what hasn't worked for you and what has worked for you?
This is a good one, and this is one we can't wait to get into together because this bitch used to not eat meat. We'll talk about that later. But I think me transferring to an actual red meat diet, I used to only eat chicken, which is still, again, if all you can eat is chicken, is so good. But transferring to high fat, high protein, and lower sugar. Everyone thinks fat equals fat. Fat does not equal fat. Fat equals brain development, brain power. It's very, very good for the body. Sugar equals fat. Sugar holds and stores as fat, and it really can't be produced in any other way besides fat. So I think changing my diet from, and I don't even want to everyone hears diet and goes, 30-day diet. Oh, it's this diet, it's this diet. Diet is literally what you eat every day. If you eat this every day, that's your diet. If you eat this every day, that's your diet. Like diet is just a general term for what you eat every day. So don't get activated by that. But my general day-to-day eating is breakfast is lamb cutlets or a steak with 2 eggs, and then I'll have a little bit we have now some pumpkin on the side or some rice. And then of course my sauces, I'm a sauce gal. Lunch is either the opposite to breakfast. So if I had lamb cutlets, I'll have steak. If I had steak, I'll have lamb cutlets. Again, I don't have eggs for lunch because I have them for the morning because it's really good for anti-inflammation and then brain power. But I'll have some rice or potato on the side with, again, the sauces. And then for dinner, me and my partner actually do HelloFresh. So everything from, not sponsored, you can sponsor me though. We're very dedicated to the team. But we just do HelloFresh and we choose throughout the meals each week. We get to choose the week before what we have. And it's all high protein, very easy to manipulate stuff. We obviously don't want to add in all the random shit foreign breadcrumbs and everything because we know that that's not great for us. So we choose easy meals generally steak and veg, something else, and some noodles or something like that are just scripted very well. And then I just don't eat snacks anymore. I used to be a very savoury person, a sweet person. Now I'm all savoury. And I actually learned that I wasn't actually savory. It's just that I had an overgrowth of bacteria, which is what wants the sweet. And once you starve it and then you kill it and then you flush it out, there's no craving anymore. So when you have your period and people are like, oh, you've got the cravings now, or like every night you crave to have something sweet after you've eaten, you actually probably have a bacteria. Like you have an overgrowth of bacteria. And once you cut it out and you kill it, there's no desire. Yes, I can enjoy sweet food and I do, don't get me wrong. But I don't, I don't look at it and go, oh, I've got to have that cupcake. I look at the steak, I'm like, oh, that would be so nice. That would be so salty, that would be good.
Like you said as well, like when you actually not deprive yourself, but like when you kind of start weaning off like really high processed sugary foods, you start to take new cravings. And that's what like I feel like I've realized a lot is when you cut back and then you start again and you're eating really whole nutritious foods mostly, you crave different things. Like I'm like, oh, I really feel like steak for breakfast and stuff. Or even at night, I'm like, oh, I just want like, just some fruit and stuff or like some yogurt and everything. And it's like you've got to stop like the brainwashing that you get from like that real big sugar influx, like or the cravings that you have every night. And it's that repetition, like you said, from the bacteria, sometimes even like parasites and stuff that want that sugar because that's what they feed off, not what you want and what your body needs. And it's that repetitive thing that also gives you sugar crashes and spikes, and that then makes you feel low again, which makes you feel like you need more sugar and you feel like crap.
It's just it's a horrible, it's a repetitive cycle and you won't know you're in it until you get rid of it. I didn't know that I wasn't born with a sweet tooth until I starved it and got rid of it and went through like a little bit of a detox from sugar. And detox not meaning I didn't eat. I literally ate steak, veggies, fruit, but I wasn't allowed any processed sugars. And after I was like, one, it's crazy. Starving the actual bacteria hurts like a fucking bitch. That craving you probably actually do have when you hold out for more than 2 hours, that little grumbling like, oh, I'm so hungry, that's actually just the starvation.
So crazy.
It's just the starvation of the bacteria, and then once it's gone, it's gone. It took me 3 days to get rid of it. It does depend how long you've had the sugar, how much sugar intake you've had prior, for how long it might take you, but it took me 3 days, and after that, eating meat every day, eating vegetables over, or like choosing fruit and stuff over like a packet of chips and then having fruit instead, that's an easy choice because nothing else wants it but me. Whereas when you have the bacteria is like, sending signals to the brain like, yes, we want that. Like now I get to choose, do I want that? Do I want that cookie that my boyfriend's offering me? Not really. It'd be nice to have it, but I don't actually want it. But past, if you'd asked me what I used to have for lunch and dinner and breakfast, it would be packs of cookies. Like constantly packs of cookies, acai bowls, oats. After dinner, I had to have Tim Tams. Like I couldn't go to bed without having a sweet thing because the dinner was so savoury. Now I'm like savoury every meal, and if I have something sweet, wow. Like I had pancakes yesterday with some maple syrup on it. I'm like, oh, I'm done for the I'm done for like the year. Yeah, I'm like, holy crap.
And it's like even my mum the last few days as well, she's actually gone off processed sugar. So she was like that type of person that was like, oh, like I need to have a chocolate. Like I need to have one. And that was like literally daily. It's so common.
Because when you grow up, unfortunately, like this wasn't common knowledge prior to when our parents brought us up, and they're giving you everything processed because one, it's so easy, it's so convenient, it's so cheap. You can give it to kids, it's so easy, and every other kid has it. So why wouldn't your kid have it?
100%. And even the way they market it as well.
Yeah, but the longer you've had that for now in your system, the worse it's going to be.
Like she's I think at day like 6 or 7 now. And her bloating's gone down, her mood's been better. She's actually starting to eat a lot more nutritious like foods as well. Like at lunchtime, like she doesn't really eat a lot, but she might like even just have like a cup of tea with some biscuits and stuff. And that would be like her morning snack or even her lunch. And it's just that like constant like influx of sugar that makes you feel really, really good, and it feels like your body needs it. And then you have a massive crash, and then that affects your mood, it affects your drive, affects like how well you sleep, just everything. And it's so funny when you actually start to see all those differences now. Like she's feeling so much better, she's got more energy, she's actually started not to crave those things anymore. And even recently she had this thing like where she felt really, really stressed, and she's like, you know what, screw it, I'm just gonna have one. And then she actually like had that time like when she was at the shops and stuff and really reflected on that. And because she had had that break, she did have that thing like you had, and you had a choice. Like,
Yeah.
do I want these cookies? Do I not want these cookies? And she's like, do I want that chocolate? You know what? I'm just gonna go buy some fruit and stuff and buy some stuff for dinner. We ended up having like steak and veggies for dinner, and we had some fruit after, and was fine. And so
It's all in the moment.
100%.
And if you don't have the power, one, the self-control, the discipline, or the commitment to whatever your goal is, or two, just to know the difference between how you're going to feel. If you've only ever had processed foods, sugars and whatnot, that's always been like your constant. You won't know how it feels to not have it and feel shit after. 100%. When I met my partner, he told me all these things that were wrong with me, from a kind, with love place. And I was like, no, they're not. I've been like this all my life. This is just how I am. Mee goreng every lunch. I would have mee goreng every lunch, and sometimes I'd put some meat in it, and I was like, wow, what a good lunch. Then I have some snacks later, which were like big chunky cookies, and he'd be eating a steak. I'm like, oh my God, that's for dinner. Like, that is for dinner, which is a whole nother topic about when you can and can't eat food. But he weaned me into the detox and got me to find some more education outsource. But he was like, there is so much wrong with you. I was like, do you not love me? Like, if you don't want to be together, that's totally fine. You didn't have to come into my life and tell me I'm all this and that. Yeah, and he was like, no, like, you have so much water fluid, like your whole body is fluid. I was like, no, I'm just big. He was like, no, your whole body is fluid. And then I did a post and I showed that it was just fluid. I lost like 5 kilos, no fat, no muscle, was the exact same. And it was just fluid from all the processed food and all the shit they put in it.
Yep. 100%. They shouldn't be selling it.
And they advertise it so well too. But you don't actually know how you feel without that processed food until you're clean. And like I say, clean with some little quotation marks, because you don't have to eat, I don't know, like, clean's a hard word because people think clean, they're like, oh, you can't have sauces, you can't have anything nice, you can't have anything like that. It's like, clean is just eating whole foods majority of the time, like 80-20. It's an 80% whole foods and 20% you go have, you know, your fun and whatnot, packs of chips and stuff. But the less you have it, the more you realize when you have it, oh, that makes me feel like this. This makes me feel, even with whole foods, it's the same thing. When you cut some stuff out and then you put it back in. So for example, when I did my detox, I wasn't allowed anything from the ground. I was not allowed any ground vegetables, I'm pretty sure, or it was above ground. I wasn't allowed any above ground vegetables, the only thing that was cooked on the ground or something like that. Anyway, and one of the vegetables I had to take out was sweet potato and potatoes in general. So I had to just eat like peas and carrots and stuff like that. That were, is that above the ground? Anyway, one of them. I can't figure it out for the life of me. I'm trying to figure out where a carrot comes from. I just can't think about it. The ground, okay. Or it must be underground then. You couldn't eat anything above ground, and sweet potato and potato above ground. When I got to slowly introduce them after 6 weeks, I gave the potato first. I just personally prefer potato. No reaction, no bloating, no bad digestion, no bad poos, anything like that. When I have sweet potato, which is what I had last night, which is why I was so bad after I didn't even think about it, I can't tolerate sweet potato. And there's not too much of a difference, but I think the context or the micronutrients is a little bit different. And I now can't have sweet potato, but I wouldn't have known that prior. I would have just thought that was normal. But now I know the difference. It's like, wow, okay, that's something I probably shouldn't eat. And it's a whole food, like it's a sweet fucking potato. There's nothing wrong with it, but like it just does not react to my body well because my gut microbiome can't handle it. So now I can only have the normal sweet potato, the normal potato.
And it's funny as well, like you won't know until like you kind of strip back your diet. Like, what am I eating most of the time? I know I always feel good in this, and like you can kind of start to tell, like you might get like a bit of like a gas, bloating and stuff, like you feel really solid, and like you won't know that because when your diet's filled with so much processed food and like lots of takeaway and stuff, there's so many different ingredients in all of these foods, and some of them you won't even know what they are, and you'll never know like what your body and what the best diet is for you. But when you kind of strip back and you start with the whole foods, it's actually one ingredient, like egg, steak, pumpkin. I know I feel great after this. I know like my body responds well to it. I get no bloating and stuff. But if you're eating, for example, like even though it's like a muesli bar and stuff, there might be like 10 ingredients in there, and you might be like fine with 9 of them, and there might be one in there. But how are you supposed to know if you eat that?
Because you can't eat them individually.
Exactly. So I've found that like kind of like stripping back and eating more whole foods. I do still eat processed foods sometimes, but having that like a majority of my diet filled with whole foods, I'll know what are triggers for me. I've found for myself that even like fresh garlic for me, doesn't sit well with my gut. But but for example, garlic powder, I'm fine, like
Yeah.
in that, but just that fresh garlic. And I only found that out because I started to eat mostly whole foods.
Yeah.
Where before, like, because if I was eating anything else, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, my diet's definitely changed quite rapidly the past 6 months. So yes,
So I wanted to add on to that, but I just
Yeah.
lost my whole brain of thought.
I'm sure you remember it. We're talking about whole foods. That if that gives you some sort of
Just a key on the processed foods as well. It's such a cool part about it. It's like when you're saying the muesli bar thing, the 10 ingredients, the more you realize the whole food, like when you look at whole foods, it's like egg. Egg equals egg. Steak equals steak. When you look at, let's give the example of the muesli bar, it will have maybe 15 ingredients in it.
Yeah.
I can tell you now, 10 of the 15 are actually really bad and detrimental to your gut microbiome, but they make it look good, taste good, smell good, and hold all together.
Yeah, for sure. Like you get like a lot of like preservatives, like even like vegetable oils and stuff, and a lot of the time like they're still marketing it as like this is like a clean, natural, organic product and stuff, but until you actually flip that label over and see what's in it.
Yeah.
And it's not even the whole thing of eating something processed and stuff.
It's more so what it contains.
100%, and it's these people who are marketing and stuff and who make it seem like it's a healthy choice for us. And like, don't even start on the health star rating, but it's a bit BS. But
The health star rating. Health star rating. We love that. Weet-Bix is 5 stars.
oh my god, it's funny. The thing is that life is definitely like all about balance and stuff. But there's a difference between balance and then also, I feel like our food system is just very compromised, and we shouldn't have to have such a limited choice of food to buy at the supermarket. Like I find it really funny. I saw a post recently, and it was like, why do we have like a health food aisle in the grocery shop? Like, what else is everything at the shop then? If that's a health food aisle, and that's the fruit and like the whole food section, what are the other aisles then?
And we love that the health food aisle is still pretty much only packaged stuff. The health food aisle is literally only packaged, healthier stuff.
Yeah. And it's just, I feel like we don't have the power as much as people to be making these choices. It's like anywhere you go right now, there'll be someone telling you that something's bad for you, but like if you stick to the general principle, like if it's a whole food, it's gonna be good, and you can have that food sometimes, but the more whole food you eat, like we've said, you'll notice how your body starts to respond to that stuff that is processed, or when you get takeaway and stuff, and you won't even want to eat it as much anyway, because you feel like crap when you eat it. So
100%. I think that's actually so funny. I just thought about it, like the whole food aisle. Like, when you go to a Harris Farms market, that's probably the best place you can go in regards to seeing that everything is exactly what it's supposed to be and whatnot. But like you're saying, go to Woolworths, the whole food aisle is packaged only. Like you won't find any unpackaged stuff. Doesn't mean that everything packaged is bad for you, but like realistically, most packaged stuff has shit that you shouldn't be eating.
yeah,
Well, that actually isn't good for your hormones. Like a lot of things that people put into muesli bars and packets of chips and stuff actually really affects your hormones, chance of getting pregnant, like a lot of things. But it's not obviously given out because it makes money. It's convenient, it's efficient, it's easy, and you can value add to it. Like it's just a profit.
yeah,
So it's a bit rough.
for sure. I think it's sad that we have to actually know that as consumers.
And you won't know unless you've maybe paid for some education, or you have a friend who's paid for that education. You're not just going to know because you looked on Instagram, because like you said, every second person has a different opinion. And this isn't saying our opinion's right, but our opinion's scientific. So, take what you want with that, grain of salt, but like it's proven. Like social experiments, like I've done a personal experience with my body, you've done a personal experience with your body. Or all the other other people's opinions and values are valid to the extent that it actually matches up with any sort like research and experiments you've also seen, done yourself, anything like that. Like the amount of, we were talking about this today, doctors who have said like, 3 eggs a morning every day, like that's really bad for you. That's really high fat, that's gonna get you high cholesterol. Is high cholesterol really that bad? Because it depends which cholesterol you're looking at. Because not all high cholesterol is bad for you. Some actually is really good for brain power and a healthy heart. But they won't tell you that because that's not profitable.
Even though egg does contain cholesterol, does it actually affect your cholesterol? But
Just some questions.
and
That
that's
was the thing the doctor says.
yeah, 100. There's like this is just like a story that I've heard on a podcast before. It was someone's personal story, but they were eating 15 eggs every morning for breakfast.
That's wild. I probably
And then
I
know.
probably couldn't. I capped it at 3.
I know this is a big
Just my tolerance.
big male bodybuilder kind of vibes.
Jesus.
But yeah, he was eating 15 eggs a day for breakfast, and then goes to the doctor, wants like a health bloods and stuff done. And the doctor basically told him, like, he's like, oh, what's your diet like and stuff. He goes, oh yeah, I ate 15 eggs for breakfast. And the doctor's like, oh my gosh, like you're going to have really high cholesterol. That's not healthy for you. He gets his bloods done and his cholesterol is like absolutely perfect. And there's nothing wrong with it. And like one thing to remember as well is that like egg is a whole food. It's so nutrient dense as well. It has so many other nutrients in it.
And then I think the last thing we should cover on the whole foods thing is that choice of food is obviously important, which is what we just talked about, but it still matters obviously how much you eat. Yes, if you're eating whole foods, you can eat more, or you actually don't need to eat as much because you get satiated faster. It depends what your palate and your food capacity is. But if you are trying to lose weight, gain weight, obviously the amount that you eat of the food matters still. They have different quantities now because they're not packaged, don't have all that extra like additives and stuff. And you can definitely eat more / less. And there's two sides of that coin because whole foods are so much more satiating. It doesn't matter how much of the whole foods you eat, it's very satiating. But at the same time, whole foods have a smaller caloric intake, so you can eat more. So it depends like where you sit in like how much you can eat and like how much you want to eat and whatnot. But just because you eat whole foods, don't take it gospel that you're going to lose weight and build this muscle mummy figure, because it does actually matter what you like, how much of it you eat as well. Like 100%. We eat a lot of food between us. Definitely, I know that your like volume is quite high and so is mine. But we're also outputting. So if you're just going to eat whole foods your whole life, then don't output. Like one, that's amazing that you're eating whole foods. But if you're not doing any movement over time, caloric input with no caloric output, you're probably going to gain some weight as well. So like you have to move your body to lose the weight and to maintain 100%. The weight. You can't just keep eating, same with any food. But regardless, whole food is the best choice you could have.
Yeah,
so
100%.
I have some questions for muzzahealth as well. So way back when, I think 2 years ago now.
Yeah, but about 3.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I used to follow muzzahealth and she used to be vegetarian / vegan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every minute watching her stories pained my soul. At the time, we kind of converted at the same time. I was a vegetarian or vegan, but I only ate chicken. I don't know what's that called. Pescatarian. Yeah. I only ate chicken. I didn't eat any red meat because I was like, oh, it's the devil. Like, that's so gross. Then I met my partner and he converted me. Same time is when muzzahealth also converted to eating meat as well. And I want you to go over, because I have my side of it too, but like the difference between eating vegan / vegetarian to now whole foods, meat included.
Well, it's a bit of like, I guess a really long time coming for me. So I was vegan / vegetarian for ethical reasons. Really loved animals. Like I felt like really connected
still does
to them.
love animals.
Still do love them, but feel obviously bad still. But it was really like I feel very selfless most of the time. Like I was really putting my love I had for animals over my own health. Jade and I were talking about this before as well, and it was with the amount of sport and exercise that I do, like having my gym, my soccer. If I was just doing nothing, I think my health would have been fine on that vegan diet. But with my protein requirements and my calorie requirements to be able to sustain myself, I was honestly deteriorating like quite quickly. So I was waking up at about like 8:30 or 8 in the morning to do my uni work and whatever. And about 10 o'clock is usually your prime time when you feel good, like you're waking up. I wasn't even tired. I was like generally falling asleep. Genuinely falling asleep. So I feel like really tired. My hormones were all out of whack and stuff. My skin was like really like quite bad. Like even like body acne as well. Mood was down, like feeling like really depressed quite daily. All my bloods were out, and the thing is that I wasn't doing it like a cheap way. Like I was even researching and stuff what plants had a certain amount of amino acids to make sure I was getting like a complete protein profile of everything I was eating. I was doing everything the right way. And my body just was not responding to me. And the problem is that to reach my protein requirements without blowing my calories like by 4,000 calories like every day, I was having to eat a lot of processed protein to meet those requirements, because the thing is that plants do contain protein, but for someone who needs a lot of protein, the amount of plants you have to eat to reach that protein is a lot of calories, a lot of carbs, a lot of fiber, and my gut was dead.
And we're just gonna touch on that, because when I used to not eat anything but chicken, fiber was my number one best friend. I was like, I need fiber. Everyone says fiber is the best for your gut. If you have too much fucking fiber, you will be constipated. 100%. Your gut will have this lining around where it's like, can't shit, can't get rid of anything, can't do anything because nothing's working. 100%. And if you eat oats every day, nothing is wrong with oats, but oats are a fiber. So if you have oats every single day, and then at lunch you have a sandwich, or you have something else that has fiber in it, and then at lunch you have the same thing, dinner, you have some more fiber, and then you have like a fiber one bar or a muesli bar, you are literally setting yourself up to be constipated and shit for the rest of the week. Like it's going to be so different. Like, and this is something I talk to my new clients about now that I never used to think of, is that I now ask new clients, how many times do you go to the toilet a day? And they're like, oh, TMI. I'm like, tell me. How many times do you actually take a shit in that toilet? Because I can tell you now from your diet, I know how many times you go to the toilet. And most likely or not, it's 0 to 1 each day. And they're like, 0 to 1 each day. I'm like, do you know how bad that is for you? When I used to go to the toilet before I met my partner, I used to go once a day or once every couple days. One shit every couple days. Do you know how bad that is for you? Do you know how bad your gut inside is like dying? It's probably, that's why you're bloated. That's why you feel like shit. That's why you can't do anything. It's because you haven't actually given yourself the time or the capacity to be able to process anything and move it through. 100%. Shit is waste. And if the waste is just piled up inside of you, you're probably not going to feel so good because you're the dump. You are the dump. You're not taking the dump, you are the dump. And it's as simple as that. And now, if someone was to tell me, I do 2 shits a day, I'm like, perfect. You do 3, fucking wow, what a fucking legend. You do a couple more, you might need some fiber. But the thing that when people are like, you have to have fiber for breakfast, that's why I have wheat bix, or you have to have fiber for lunch, that's why I have a sandwich. I'm like, do you know that fiber isn't actually that essential? Like, yes, we want to eat fiber, but fiber at every single meal at this amount of quantity is actually not essential. We have bacon, eggs, steak, pumpkin for breakfast, and then lunch you have the same, steak, something else. That all has a quantity of fiber in, and I shit perfectly fine now. I now get to go to the toilet when I wake up, maybe middle of the day, maybe before I go to bed. That's a good day for me. Yesterday I went to the toilet twice. I was like, oh God, I'm going to be constipated for the rest of my life. 100%. And it's such a key thing to take away from this whole chat is if none of this stuff makes sense to you, it all sounds like gibberish nonsense because we're talking about stuff you might not know about, or it's also very new. You're being exposed to something that you don't want to take in because it's very against society normal. Just take away this. How many times do you actually go to the toilet a day? Because if it is 1 or 0 per day, your gut is not functioning properly. And that's the baseline. Yes, every person's different, but if you're not going to the toilet twice a day to take a general shit, your gut is not working and you're feeding it too much excess of something. And that can be the same for every nutrient. It can definitely be for protein, fats and that, but it's very rare for it to be anything else but fiber. 100%. So I would take a look at how many times you go to the toilet a day because that's very important.
Digestion is honestly a massive indicator of health. And as well, a really important thing to remember, and this is scientifically proven, is that your gut has a connection to your brain. And so therefore, a lot of the time, your gut health will determine your mental health. And when you start to actually address those problems in your gut and your diet and stuff, you'll notice so many differences in your mental health.
I love that you've touched on this. Purely by the basis that I was too scared to touch on it when I said processed foods and we brought up the processed topic, is that a lot of depressed people have cereal for breakfast or have the cereal and the the pastries and stuff for breakfast, the sweet foods. And then for lunch, it's something packaged, or for snacks, it's packaged. And then for lunch, it's maybe something let's say takeaway, or it is that sandwich. And then for dinner, it's again, something takeaway, or again, another processed food. And the more you add that in, your mood is just like this. It just depletes. And there's so much, like you said, scientific research on it that it really does affect, and like the fact that it's still being produced and marketed and how it is now. It's like they care so much about the health system and that people are getting like depressed and suicide is rising, yet you're one of the leading causes of it. Not that they, had a breakup. It's actually the fact that we're eating stuff that actually triggers our hormones and then decreases activity in our brain of good parts.
100%.
And we were talking about it before when we were cooking eggs. I was like, yes, I want to have eggs this morning because eggs are really good for... Eggs have fat in them, and it's really one of the best things is that the connection to the brain that the fat actually produces, not just brain power, gets rid of that brain fog. So if you're woken up and you're like, oh, I'll have some let's say Wheat Bix again for the cereal, and then you're like, oh, I still feel so tired, I mustn't have got a good sleep. No, you actually just aren't giving your brain the fuel and energy that it needs. Fat is necessary for the brain to actually work.
100%.
And when you're not having enough fat because your brain is like, meh. It's so fucking useless. It can't do anything. Yeah, you're foggy. I think that's the best way to describe it, is that you're so fucking foggy. You look at your screen, you've got nothing that comes to your head. Even if you know all about that, you look at it and you're like, oh God, I can't think of anything right now. Or you go to work out and you're just so foggy, oh, it doesn't feel good. It's purely based on the fact that you're eating bad stuff, whether you know or not that it is bad for you and you're making that choice. The chemicals, the additives, all that stuff, it actually triggers stuff in your hormones that doesn't, it doesn't expel a good outcome.
Yes.
Whereas fats from eggs go straight to your brain, and then it makes your brain go faster. It's more efficient, it's faster in regards to how it responds to stuff. It's actually also safer. A faster brain is safer.
100%.
I'd rather cross the road. That's exactly where I wanted to go with that. Reaction time as well. I'd rather cross the road and have my brain so efficient that I see the car and I take the step back. If your brain is foggy and you have cereal every day or whatever it is that makes your brain so foggy, and you cross the road, you see the car, but you're not fast enough to take the step back before the car person can stop, you're probably going to get hit by the car. And that's not from because we're athletes, because we do gym, because we go on the field and we know how to run back and forth. It's purely based on the fact that how fast can we react to a situation we're given.
Yep. It's so, I feel like even in that nutrition space, even if I touch on the athletes as well, I think people who are performing at their absolute best and they're not even fueling themselves properly, there's so much unlocked potential there with people who can actually change their nutrition and perform so much better.
Matt Gonzalez, if you're watching right now. So Matt is my boyfriend, for anyone who doesn't know. Rugby Sevens, if you ever sign me, I love you. I'm grateful that you signed my boyfriend. There is no disrespect here. I'm saying all this with love, but it actually, and this triggered me so hard, when you said it, I was in the camera, I was like, oh God, because I want to talk about this, but it's something kind of it's my boyfriend's profession, it's something that I might want in my profession. I probably shouldn't talk about it, because what if I upset someone? At the same time, it is what it is, and it's the fucking truth. You go to netball, and netball athletes have their day-to-day what they're supposed to eat. They get a protocol. Yes, they don't have to follow it, it's a guideline, but they get told what they should eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yep.
And some snacks pre or post training. And there's a really good I'll post it in a little comment underneath, but there's a really good Instagram girl, and she posts all about it, and she shows all their...
Is it? Jess Spenlove?
Yes, Jess Spenlove, yes. And she posts all about it, and she shows all their routines and their nutrition, and I'm pretty sure she's written up some for them as well. And they follow what she says. And she literally gives them a pre-post lunch, breakfast, dinner, snack routine. She is great. Look her up on Instagram. And it's also just good for people to follow anyway.
100%.
But what triggered me from what you said before is that, do you know how much that actually affects their performance and enhances their performance? Yet people like my partner, they don't get told what to eat, when to eat, how to eat it, stuff like that. They get a cafeteria at their work, I'm more than sure, don't quote me, and they get given food, whatever it is, but why are they eating that food? What is that?
Purpose and timing.
Also, the nutrition factor, nutrient timing factor, really important as well.
100%.
But the type of food you eat, post, pre, after training, lunch, breakfast, whatever, is so important to a gen pop and an athlete that it baffles me that my partners, yes, they're all men, they're all grown up, we get it, but give them something to follow, because they're all looking at it, and I'm telling you, 9 out of 10, I'm more than sure will probably have Cocoa Pops for breakfast.
100%.
They're not going to cook breakfast before they leave at 6 a.m. So they're going to have Cocoa Pops.
And that's the thing, they're elite athletes, so obviously that they're good at what they do.
Get this? It's because I lost my fly screen. My dog tried my fly screen.
it's like they're elite athletes. They're obviously good. Like, it's not like you're gonna eat really nutritious and you're gonna go and like you're like just like an amateur and then you're gonna become a professional
skill
player.
and hard work involved.
100%. It's the fact that nutrition will enhance your performance.
Yes. So, if you're already 10 out of 10 now and you're in a rep team, imagine how much you can sustain it.
Yeah.
Because you know how many people go into a rep team and come out after a year because they can't keep up.
100%.
Because then their body's not keeping up, because their performance not keeping up, then the nutrition's not keeping up, their recovery can't do it. Imagine if you could sustain that 5-year contract because you actually ate well.
Yeah,
and it's
100%.
so simple. It's as simple as you let it be. If you actually eat well,
100%.
you're probably going to perform better.
Yeah.
Like we said, it comes with skill and hard work and dedication. But the difference between eating well and the that has to better performance, like astronomical. And it's nothing that we have to keep harping on about because it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's proven, it's explained, and it's proven not just in studies, but like in general people. You can tell people on the field, and this is why I want to maybe bring my boyfriend back to love me. The difference between someone who's on the field and has skill, hard work, and nutrition all wrapped in one compared to someone who doesn't is that my boyfriend sits nearly first or second in everything they do. Strength, fitness, speed, endurance. Do you know how hard it is to hit any of those, let alone all four? There is no way I know anyone else who can hit strength, speed, and endurance. Because you have one or the other. Or you have two because you have power, which is speed and strength, but you don't have endurance because that's fucking hard to get when you have only power. And yet he tops all four. How does he top all four? One, he's very, very fucking dedicated. You know, every day in the gym, every day doing what he needs to do, being the best he can. But two, he cares about his fucking nutrition and his recovery, which is another like aspect we'll harp on about. But he cares about his nutrition. And if he didn't care about that, he probably wouldn't be where he is now. He'd probably have more injuries. He probably wouldn't be able to be as powerful because he wouldn't be eating as well. He wouldn't be able to be endurance-wise. Do you know how hard it is to be actually an endurance athlete? Like, you actually have to fuel your body enough and the right amount of sources of stuff to actually be able to endure enough.
And the right timing as well.
So, yeah, love me again. I'm going to take 1 second. That good bowel movement we talked about has come through. We're going to repeat back into the... I'm back. We love some good bowel movement.
Was it a good one?
Yeah, nice and smooth. We love that.
That's so good. So...
Where were we?
We were talking about... We kind of got into the topic of fibre. And we started talking about elite athletes and lack of nutrition and how... performance can be enhanced with correct nutrition. Do you want to go back and touch on how introducing meat back in my diet changed?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's a good one because we both had the same experience or a very similar experience where I was on chicken, introduced the red meats and stuff like that. Whereas, should I call you muzzahealth or Bella? Like, what do you prefer to as?
Maybe you can call me Bella today.
Okay. Whereas Bella reintroduced meat in general, like everything from no meat at all. So yeah, hearing the difference between, and like she mentioned as well, she did it for ethical reasons, which is like very valuable and very appreciated. But the impact that was towards her body because of that choice is what's actually super exciting to talk about because whilst I was following her the whole time, I was like, I really want to tell her from a good-hearted place that that's not beneficial. You're doing all these programs, you're paying for all these Rachel Dillon programs, but they're probably not going to work because of how you're eating. And there's a point to where, you know, two sides of that coin, yes, she can keep working really hard, but say the results she made in those 12 weeks, they are nothing compared to someone else made in the 12 weeks who ate meat. Purely based on the fact that the type of food she might have had to eat to be vegetarian and vegan. A lot of the content I'm assuming would have had to be processed as well to be vegetarian or vegan because otherwise it's just fruit and veg and there's not a lot of mass quantity meals you can make with just fruit and veg. You do have to add in I'm not very well versed on vegan and vegetarian, but like tofus and stuff like that. I'm assuming it's
tofu, tempeh, there's like lots of like fake meats, a lot of soy products as well. And that's just the thing, like everyone's body's different and the things that I was eating, although like I was literally trying my hardest like in every meal to make sure I was doing everything correctly as well. I wasn't half-assing anything I was doing and like, you know, all my family and friends know. They're still there.
Because like when I've had old clients come in who were vegetarian, I would scroll down into hers and go like, oh, well, this is what she ate for the day. There's some, because I don't know. They're being vegetarian and vegan, so I'm like, oh, she did this. Here are some options you can do. Now, obviously, I'm like, oh, is that for ethical reasons? Is that religious? Religious, we don't touch it. Whatever, that's fine.
100%.
But ethical and stuff, let's talk about how you can maybe still do good whilst being able to keep up a healthy life for you and live longer.
100%. Yeah,
Like, we all want to live longer.
Longevity is like a thing, I think a thing that many people look at when they're doing a diet. And that's the thing, like there's this big diet word, and it's not about what you eat within 30 days or like a 6-week program. What do you eat every single day that's contributing to your longevity?
And not just on your good days, your bad
No,
days too.
exactly.
Like, it matters every single day.
And that's the thing. It's like, even if I was, sorry, I'm not like that. But even if you go and eat out, like I can still go and enjoy myself and have something, but I'm like still thinking like, how's it going to affect me later?
Yeah.
Like if I go out and stuff, I'm getting takeaway. I'm like, I'll try and get like, you know, some grilled chicken and stuff.
And that's not on the side of her going, like a mental illness or eating disorder side of like going, oh, I shouldn't eat that. It's not a shouldn't, it's like, should I? Because how would that make me feel? It's more about the how and the why would that make me feel and how will it impact me,
100%.
more towards the shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like, she can have the cookie, she's fucking allowed, everyone's fucking allowed to have the cookie, but do you want to have the cookie? Because what will it do to you? It's not do you want it because it's going to make you fat or skinny, it's do you want it because tomorrow when you have to run, is that going to be the best thing, or would the banana and the berries be better?
100%. That's the thing. Like I've struggled a lot with like mental illnesses in terms of food struggles. Haven't all girls will just come back from that exact age group. But yeah, it's so funny now because the decisions I make about my food, it's like not like, oh, how's that going to make me look and stuff. I don't want to eat that because that's like high in sugar, or it's high fat, whatever it is. It's nothing about that anymore. All it's about is like, how is this actually going to make me feel? How's this going to make me perform? And like, what's the best decision for my health in this situation? If I've got like a cookie in front of me, I love cookies. Don't get me wrong. But like, say if it is like a special occasion and stuff, I might have one. But if I've got like a choice between eating something that I know I'll enjoy, I don't eat anything I don't enjoy at all, because when you start to eat whole food, you start to really appreciate the tastes and the flavors and everything. So if I had a choice between like eating like a massive fruit salad, which I love doing and I do a lot because I do sports, or like just eating a cookie, the amount of volume I can eat from that fruit versus like a cookie, one, I know there'll be like a shit ton of nutrients and stuff in that fruit that will make me feel great, and I can eat more of it, and I know I'm going to feel so good after as well, where when I start to eat like those processed foods, my body doesn't respond well. I blow up like a balloon, and it's just like that process. But you know what, if I was to make some homemade cookies, maybe it might be different, but like any time like you're grabbing that quick thing, like.
And there's actually something I
want to harp on about that as well before we do get into, you know, understanding your transition, is that this is just a pure, we haven't talked about this before, so this will be very vulnerable, depending on what our opinions are separately. But do you believe there's a relationship with food, or there's no relationship with food? Do you think a person has a relationship with the food, or do you think it is just food and person?
I think it honestly, it depends who you are.
Yeah.
I think people, for me, I used to have a relationship with food. Now I've got no relationship with food. Food for me is fuel. It's something I have to do every day, just like breathing. And I'm like, I wouldn't just go stand and be next to smokers and stuff just because it's easier. Like, I prefer to be in fresh air. I've got to breathe. I've got to eat, and I'll choose to do the healthiest thing possible. The problem is, I think we romanticize and we get obsessed with food, and we have some sort of relationship.
This is the best answer I probably could have given. I was very nervous, but this is the best answer she could have given.
I used to like literally romanticize. I'm like, I can't wait to like sit down in front of the TV, and like I just really want to grab some like lots of snacks, like as many as I can find, and just eat, and I just mindlessly eat. And that was like this relationship. I was like obsessed with it. Like, it was in every meal. I still love food, but I'm like, I can't wait to cook my steak for lunch. Whereas before I was just obsessed with it. It was like, it ran my day. And then now when I've switched this different mindset of like, food is my fuel, how can I best fuel my body? I've like stripped this like relationship out of the way. And it's when you start to think that food is just something that you have to do, not like let it control your life, it's very different. But I think you have something to say now.
That was the best answer.
No, that was the best answer you could have given, because I think there's a double-ended sword with that, is that, yes, there is this relationship with food because there's you and the food, two to tango, right? You can't have the food without the food, and the food can't be eaten without you. So there's that relationship.
But like you said, and I was so glad when you said it, it's been so romanticized. Like, do you have a good relationship with your food or bad? In a relationship, two have to tango. Someone has to speak, reward you back and stuff like that. Is the food doing what you're doing for it? No. 100%. It's not much of a relationship, it's literally just a piece, it's a product. When you look at your hair straighteners and stuff like that and you buy it, do you have a relationship with the hair straightener? No. It doesn't, because like the hair straightener doesn't do anything for you. Like, it does your hair, and that's the service. You buy a product, it does the service. You buy the meat, that's the product, and then it does you the service. But on the other side of that, I think, and you already did mention it, and you kind of got into it as well, is that there is a service between you and the food. Whatever food you decide to eat, whether it is the steak or the cookies, it has a service to give you something back. And if it's that steak, it's the proteins, it's the this, it's the that. If it's the cookie, it's the brain fog, it's the feel bad, it's the come down, it's the sugar. So there's not actually, and I think it's so important because a lot of people go, like, what's your relationship with food? Or like, how do you feel about food? I'm like, food is food. Food is fuel. If you want to have a relationship around food, I'm going to say it very lightly and take it with a grain of salt. If you have a relationship with food, you probably have
Probably struggling.
You're probably struggling with your mindset on food because there's no relationship between you and the food because there's no relationship. There's no two to tango. It is just a product and a service that it provides. And it depends what service you want from the food is the product that you buy. And that's the relationship.
And I think the minute you let food control everything that you do as well, that's when like that relationship starts to be formed. And I don't think any relationship with food is a good one if you feel like you have a relationship with food. And I think that's where like I was going, like, I really want a healthy relationship with food. And then you start to become obsessed with being absolutely perfect. And then like a bad relationship is typically someone who like maybe would binge on their food or like would restrict themselves from too much food. And it's like when you start to actually think of this food here provides me this type of nutrients, my meat provides me my protein and all my other like amino acids, B vitamins and everything. Vegetables provide me like that little bit of fiber I need, same with my fruit. And you start to think of like each like little service that the food does for you. That's when you start to you pull away from that relationship and you understand that like
it's just
food,
educational.
100%.
I think having a relationship with food is an educational barrier. It's how do I feel? It's emotions. It's this and that. It's nothing educational. It's not looking at, if we're talking about feelings, it's not symptoms. It's looking at how I emotionally feel from that food. And that's not what you need. It's the service that the food provides, 100%. Which is how it fuels your body and like reacts to your body. But yeah, I thought that was very interesting because I did want to know, because a lot of people come into me and a lot of young girls like, we go through their diet and like, oh, okay, so how do I get like a better relationship with food? I'm like, you need education. You don't need a better relationship with food. You actually need to get rid of the relationship and get some education, because the education is what's going to teach you how to get why each is important, macronutrient, why calories are important, why numbers actually matter, not just following a certain number that someone gave on the internet. Which is something I pride myself on giving as a value to all my clients. I have like this 6-week nutrition mentorship that I do as a service as well, but like I give it to clients the minute they sign up. I'm like,
it's a challenge. It's like it's something for them to actually learn and educate for longevity as well.
Yes, there's a meal plan at the end. Yes, there's a meal plan at the end, but if you don't learn the other stuff, what's the point? We're just gonna go back in circles. And I give my clients that the first week we sign up, if they don't read it over the 2 weeks, that's your choice. But you're also now choosing that when you ask me some more nutrition stuff in the future, I'm probably not going to care. I'm probably not going to help you because you don't want to get educated and do better than that relationship with food, that 30-day challenge diet, stuff like that. But yeah, I think that's very important, because how you perceive food and the value it can have to you, not upon you, I think is very interesting, because value food can provide is, like we said, muscle, restoration of deprived muscles, brain fog, all that stuff. That's what it does to you, but what it puts upon you is like those emotions, like I get sad when I eat this, or this makes me really happy, but I'm binge eating, so full circle as well. I think focusing on what the food actually provides as a service, not just, oh, well, I feel good when I eat this, from like an emotional state, because I feel good when I eat cookies until after, and then I don't feel good. It's like it depends where.
100%. That's where like as well, like when you start to learn about that and you're like, oh, I feel really good when I have cookies, or I have that chocolate, I'm like, it makes me feel really good. And you start to learn the science behind that and you're like, oh, it's because it's a very like low nutritional value, and you're also getting a massive glucose spike. And that glucose spike is literally what makes you feel really, really good, because like your sugar levels are quite high, you feel really energized, you feel happy again. And then what happens after that is your body crashes and these flies, man, it's like rent. Yeah, they like you have like that spike and you feel like crap again, and then that then leads you to that second kind of like, oh, I need to have that because it made me feel good. And that's just like literally addiction itself as well.
I'm so glad you said that word.
I'm so glad you said that word, because I was just about to say, and it's so funny because when you do it with food, it's like, you know, it's fine. But if you look at it in an addiction state, you do that with drugs, you do that with the betting, that's an addiction. And that's really detrimental to your health. But yet when you do it with food, it's not an addiction. It's just, you know, that's how I feel, and I feel like this today and I feel like that tomorrow. It's not an addiction and not detrimental to your health. But put it in any other circumstance and that's so bad for you. And that's looked down upon as well. We all look down on drugs, we all look down on betting, we all look down on this and that because it's so bad for you. But when you do it with food, it's like, it's fine. You know, that's normal. That's how it's supposed to be. So just like an interesting point on that is like, you put that circumstance in any other event or situation in your life and it would be like something you probably steer away from. Yeah. It's unhealthy, it's looked down upon, it's not romanticized because it's not something pretty to look at. But yet when you do it with food, it's like, you know, I'm just treating myself. And
you wouldn't say that those things with like people, like someone having a cigarette or something, you wouldn't say like, oh, I'm just treating myself. It's like, oh yeah, you know, good for you. Like, no one would say that. And it's that thing, like if you've got a relationship like with betting and stuff, you've got a problem. Do you know what I mean? Or like you've got a relationship with alcohol, you've got a problem. But the thing is like if you understand that each thing gives you a service and like that food just provides you that service and you take away that whole relationship idea of being drawn to it, that's when you really start to get that fog away from yourself. And you feel like you can actually make your decisions for yourself and that food isn't controlling you.
And
isn't controlling you.
And this isn't saying like we don't, like, I'm gonna be honest, I'll definitely have a cookie on like a Saturday or Sunday night, not waiting until then, but like I could have it on a Tuesday night. But like when I go to have the cookie, I'm like, this is not providing me anything. The service it provides me, nothing. But I want the cookie and I'll have the cookie. Yes, not everything you do has to provide a service, but is it going to pull you forward? Is it going to pull you back? Like, what are you doing? When I have the cookie, it's not going anywhere. It's not pulling me forward, it's not pulling me back.
And you're choosing to have it as well. You don't feel like you have to have it. And that's the big difference.
Cookie, not the whole pack, which I think is a massive thing as well. When I used to have cookies, it had to be the whole pack.
Oh, 100%. So it's like that obsession and that addiction of like you feel like you need to finish that thing. And I feel like you get so liberalized as well, like when you actually are able to make that choice for yourself to have that one cookie rather than the whole thing.
One more cookie tomorrow.
And no, there's one more cookie tomorrow. Like, yes,
100%,
you're still eating like 2 cookies, let's say, and you're like, oh, but it's still the same calories and whatnot. But like, the point is not the calories; it's the fact that you chose to have one today, and then you might have one tomorrow, or you might have one next Wednesday, or something like that. Like, you're not choosing to eat the whole pack. Because, oh, I'm going to have all the calories anyway sometime or later, so I may as well just eat them all now. It's like you're choosing because you want it.
Excuse me. I got lost here.
But let's wrap up the little chat about, we haven't, like, this is the part I really want to touch on before we did any, like, training questions. On the last bit of nutrition is, like, I want you to explain briefly, like, a little bit so people can understand the difference between going veggie to...
So I think we kind of touched on at the end as well that the reason that I was starting to feel quite bad on the diet was because of my output with gym and soccer. I had quite high calorie requirements and high protein and all of that like extra fiber, processed foods and stuff to actually meet those requirements from like, you know, fake meats, a lot of soy products and stuff as well to boost that protein. And then if I wasn't getting like lots of beans and stuff like that, my body wasn't coping properly with digestion, just everything in general, like mental health, fatigue, energy levels, like my bloods were pretty, not very good. And the thing is that it was the lifestyle I was living, and I made the decision that did not want to make it at all, that I was going to put myself first and I was going to put my health first and not let like my feelings and stuff get involved too much, because there's no way I can help other people if you're not servicing yourself first. And I really made that decision that day. I was very upset because I was literally putting like the animals and stuff well-being before my own, without even realizing as well that even when you do eat animals and stuff, and you're eating like even an animal-based diet, that your specific choices, like for example getting like grass-fed and stuff, will actually have a better outcome as well. But we won't get into the ethics side of things. Pretty much when I've like introduced meat back in my diet, I started off with like eggs and fish. So Introduced the eggs back in. That made a huge difference straight away. I was eating eggs for breakfast pretty much every morning, rather than like my oats or like my protein cereal and stuff. Massive difference in my energy levels. This is just me personally as well.
Yeah.
Like we said, like it could work for like a lot of people, could not work for you, but I introducing those like whole foods and like that savory breakfast back into my day, just the biggest difference in my brain fog. And that was like the first 4 weeks, like the first month.
Yeah.
Felt so good.
And it actually is that quick. Like,
100%.
she's not lying. It's that fucking quick,
100%. So like that, having that in the mornings and stuff, and then introducing that all of that is like protein fats. So that straight away, like if you think about that fat, that's stuff that's going straight to my brain as well. And I was eating like, the nuts, the seeds and stuff.
It's not
but
the same though, is it?
thing is, like, there's in animal fat as well, like even when you eat plants with it as well, there's lots of fat soluble vitamins, and everything works well together. So when you start eating that really holistic diet, you really get the benefits of everything. But yes, I started to introduce that back in, and then eventually like the white meats again. And then biggest change happened when I started to introduce red meats back into my diet. And probably for the last couple of months, I've nearly been eating like steak nearly every morning for breakfast. I know, and it was really, really tough for me because I was very emotionally attached to my diet before, because every time I made a decision to eat a meal, I'm like, oh, I did not want to eat an animal, didn't want to take part in this bigger thing that was happening. But the real bad thing that's happening is like that we've got no control over our food and all the chemicals and stuff that are going in, and that's a real problem. So anyway, introducing the red meats and stuff back in, my recovery was insane. I went from last year, probably lasting, even though I was doing a lot of fitness on a soccer day.
This is so important too, because you can do all the fucking work you want.
I know.
You can't out-train a bad diet.
100%. I was getting 5 minutes on the field, dying. Like I could not last. And ever since I had introduced that red meat back in, that last, like I think my last 2 games of the season, I was playing 90-minute games and stuff. And so
Crazy.
the physically seen, even as well, one massive thing I noticed, and it was like something so small but like meant so much to me. My nails have always been very brittle. And within 6 weeks, I had like the most strong nails, and even my hair was growing faster.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
just every. Like the color of my face, just everything, all my health started to return. And it's the thing is that some people can like endure and go through and thrive like on a vegetarian or vegan diet, but some people can't. And the thing is that you can't ignore what is good for you. And even though it was really hard for me to make that transition, especially because even my whole platform, like on muzzahealth as well, it was literally based all around my plant-based diet, like what I was eating. So just, it was really hard to make that transition. I had like heaps of like vegan, vegetarian followers and stuff. And then, but when I made that decision to put my health first and to prioritize my nutrition and to do what works best for me, did the changes in everything. And the biggest thing for me was my sporting performance, because that means a lot for me. Muscle growth, muscle definition, my endurance, my speed, my strength, everything changed. And
I say this to every person who I get to speak with, whether they sign up with me or not, is that they're like, oh, what program should I do to get this? And I'm like, yeah, cool, I can give you the fucking program. I can make you a bomb-ass program because I back myself on that. I've got evidence. I've got people to show that they can do that. What are you doing without the program? Because if you're training, like you said, on the field, you're doing all the extra trainings, you're doing all the trainings with everybody else, and you're still in the field, like, holy fuck, I'm gassed. But someone else who's doing less training than you is doing better. It's not because she's grown up just so fit. Maybe she has, just to play a massive role. But it's more so probably that she's eating very well and that's working for her. What are you eating and is it actually working for you? Like you
100%.
said, there are many people who can be vegetarian and vegan. We're not saying you have to eat meat, you have to eat whole food, only blah, blah, blah. but that works for us, and I know it's worked for 9 out of 10 girls I've ever told to do the same same thing. Because taking away processed foods, one, will always be better for you. They should, like, it just is what it is. But if meat doesn't or does work for you, you need to actually be able to be aware.
100%.
How do I feel when I eat it?
Yep.
Do I get bloated? Do I go to the toilet? Do I feel this? Or how do I feel when I don't eat it? Do I feel better? Do I feel bloated? Do I feel this?
Yep.
Like you said, you have to work in regards to your body, and that's the same with training as well. If your training does not feel good, you cannot recover, you cannot do anything, you cannot perform like how you're supposed to. That's not for you.
100%.
And you need to actually make the choice to be aware about it and then change your training. An example of that would be if you're trying to lose weight and you do cardio every single day, you're probably not going to lose the weight. Because that's not efficient for losing weight, and that's probably not actually working for you. Yes, it might work for somebody else whose genetics are to lose weight very easily, and that's great for them, and they now know that, so they'll keep doing that. You now know that you've done this for 12 months and you're still the same weight you were before, and you just keep doing the exact same method because that's what you think you have to do because that's what you've always done. So being vegan or vegetarian.
Vegan.
But yeah, vegan is a new thing we're calling.
That's pretty much what I was.
Only eating meat. Vegan. But like you said, you literally have to take into account of how you feel, how you're performing, how's it affecting your daily life, not just that's what I want to follow today, that's what's going to be today. Or like off ethics as well. Bella, this was a tough one to talk about because I used to not eat meat because I didn't like the idea of eating a cow.
Yeah.
So I'd eat chicken. For some reason, chicken did not faze me. I was like, I'd happily kill a chicken, whatever. But when I thought about anything red, cow, pig, that made me so upset. I used to watch this movie called Charlotte's Web. Don't know if you've ever seen it.
Yes.
My mum let me watch that at a young
100%.
age, and ever since then, I couldn't eat red meat. I was just so attached to the story of one of the stupid pig, and I just couldn't contain myself to eat any red meat. But along the way, I met some people, my partner and his friends, and they're like, "You are just not functional. Like you are not optimal. Your performance is not optimal." In AFL, they'd watch me like, "You're so slow, and yet you do all these assault bike sessions, you do all this extra gym stuff. But the girls that I train with don't even do gym. I'm already doing more than them, and yet I'm still shit. My skill's fine. I can kick a fucking ball. I can catch a ball. I'm sure you can kick a ball. You can score a goal. But what's the point if I can't get to the ball first?
100%.
Doesn't actually matter.
Yep.
And when I actually got to change into red meat, and I took my process was a little bit slower. I think in regards to it wasn't more the ethics about it. It was there was a little bit of the ethics. I didn't like seeing the red because I associated red with like family, red with blood, family, red with dogs, family. So when I think red meat, I'm like cows, pigs, family. Yes, it depends how you want to take that. Doesn't matter. But that's what I thought. It's a personal opinion. And to eat it when I first started, I had to have it charred, like black. Like when my partner used to cook it for me, or like he used to watch me cook it, he would be so disgusted. It was just like black on the outside, the inside. Most of the time, I couldn't stand how it tasted because it was so black. It was so charred. It was like this wasn't even like that crispy nice. It was like just burnt. It was like it just burnt, and I just put sauce all over it. And if you know anyone, or you're in your meat era where you can eat steak, or you just eat steak since you've grown up, steak doesn't actually need a sauce most of the time.
No, if you cook it good,
used to pour barbecue sauce on it because I was like, it's so foul. It tastes so foul. Now I'm eating steak. I do put a sauce with it because my boyfriend's mum made it. Shout out Michelle.
So good.
And it's so good. It's so nice. But like, I only put it there because I get to have it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a barbecue sauce now to put with it. If I don't have it, oh well, I'll put it with my pumpkin.
100%.
And that purely comes from the fact that now I know I've, transferred into being able to cook and eat properly and stuff like that. But before, going from, where was I going in this conversation?
You were talking about that you don't like the meat being black.
There was some story behind it, but like it's more so the fact like the ethics does really challenge a lot of people, and that's like everyone has a different story. Like you didn't want to eat any meat because you loved every animal. I didn't want to eat certain things that I associated with family, which was red and blood. But you have to look into a state of like I was being told from outside perspective that I was not functioning well. Yes, your GP probably won't tell you that. They'll say your cholesterol's high because you're eating eggs or whatnot. Like a general person who does have an education around nutrition will be like, you're not well, you have too much fluid, you've got brain fog. Like you're at the time I was 19, how can you not read a sentence and not get tired? Like there's just simple things that you should be able to do as a general human being, whether you're an athletic performer or
100%.
not. There's stuff you should be able to do without getting so fatigued,
100%.
tired, stuff like that. And if you can't do it, there's probably something going wrong.
And it's funny as well because you'll never actually know that you're so bad until you actually see the difference. And I think I really went with my diet, had to get to like rock bottom to realize something was wrong. And the thing is that over that 3 years, because I was like performing at that level, I was like doing the gym and stuff, it was literally just a really slow come down. And then until I crashed, like I didn't know anything was wrong. And I was like, okay, I'm literally falling asleep in my chair at 10 o'clock in the day. There's probably something wrong with me. You know, I can't, like, why am I doing all of this fitness? Like everyone else is doing the same thing. How come everyone else can last like 90 minutes on a field and I can last 5 minutes? And my body just has no energy.
And that's a good aspect of comparison. I think we talked about comparison before, earlier in. That is a different point of comparison where you're not going, why is she better than me? Why is she this? Why is she that? I hate myself. It's, why is she genuinely better than me? Why aren't I doing that? And what is the variable? She's actually looking now, going, how has she got fitter than me? And I'm doing all the extra fitness. What is the difference between us? And that comes across, one, you might just base knowledge, know what she's doing. Or two, a general conversation going, hey, like, do you do any fitness sessions? No. What do you eat in the day? Breakfast. And you hear that probably the first thing she eats is, she might say eggs, she might say bacon, she might say something else. You go, oh, so different to what I'm doing. Or you've asked for breakfast. Like, that's a different point to comparison to like where you're actually finding what you need to do and why to do it and how to do it. Not, oh, she's better than me, oh, she's this, oh, she's that. It's not something emotional. It's a different comparison. It's an educational one that's going to pull you forward.
100%. It's like, it's a learning opportunity. It's not something that you're comparing. It's like, oh, I really wish I looked like that. It's like, oh, there's something wrong with my performance and I want to change it. What are you doing that I'm not? Yeah. So
definitely.
I think it's really important. But I think nutrition is something that a lot of people neglect, and I think don't even want to know how important it is for you as well.
Because you don't want to be called out either.
It is for you as well.
Because you don't want to be called out either. 100%. When I got exposed to this, when I first wasn't doing this, I was like, one, I want to cry, and two, you're making me fucking angry because it's what I've been doing for 19 years. So you're telling me for 19 years I've been doing the wrong thing, and that's why I'm not good, that's why I'm not this, that's why I'm not that. I don't believe you. Because I train my ass off. I do this, I do that, I do that. And you're telling me that the thing I'm eating is what's causing it. I could have fixed that. It's gonna take me 2 seconds to fix. Like you said, you did it for 3 years and you waited till you got to rock bottom. Imagine if you did that with your training. Like 100%. You'd be called out in like 2 weeks. 100%. As someone saw you and you're like rock bottom, like, oh my God, I can't do it anymore. I'm so tired, blah, blah, blah. I've broken my wrist today because like, you know, it's just so hard. I can't recover anymore. No one would let you do that for 3 years. No. And like, that's a bad friend. Get a better friend. But there's just like nothing else happens like this besides nutrition. Because no one's going to watch you fall down that far before they start to help you up. But in nutrition, everyone, like, education's more so a choice. It's not something that everyone gets anymore. Like we said, the government and, you know, whoever else has chosen what we should have and what we should get taught, and leaves out all the valuable bits like we have to talk about over today. And we've barely even touched the conversation. Like we've been here for like, I don't know, it's 12:30 now. Like we've been chatting for a very long time, and we've like touched the surface. Like we're gonna have to like 20 more of these because we need to like we've scratched over like 50 topics, but only like this much of each topic. And we could definitely break them down and go into them further. But yeah, it's more so a choice in the education.
100%. I think if you're genuinely serious about your health, I think some sort of nutritional education, it's like non-negotiable. It's something that you need. And I think for myself and Jade, like going through like our whole journey and stuff, it's something that we've like been forced to learn because of all our errors.
And we don't want you to have to go through that journey.
No,
that's like not a waste of your time. Like yes, it really helped us self-develop and like personal development. But if you don't have to go through that, don't go through it. Like it's shit. It's long. It's wasteful. So if you are seeing this is your sign. You don't have to go pay $500 for a nutrition course or to be a PT or a nutritionist or whatever, get a diploma in something. Look up on the internet. It's fucking free. Like look up stuff or go onto like Spend Love.
Just Spend Love.
Just
She's
Spend
a good,
Love
great
or
sports
muzzahealth,
nutritionist.
Swabeysquats, and we all talk about nutrition to some aspect that's actually going to pull you forward. Not just going, oh, I don't have access to that, because you do. Don't. 100%. You're cheating yourself if you say you don't. That's like people who go, oh, I can't actually get to the gym. Can you walk outside? Can you do a squat without weight? Yes.
What can you do with the resources that you have available? And just remember as well, like there obviously is a lot of false information on the internet, and I think it's really important to make sure you're looking in the right places as well. Something that I find, because obviously I'm still in university myself, is that when you're looking at journal articles and stuff, you can actually see like who they're sponsored by. So there was a massive misconception for a long time that red meat causes cancer, that it's carcinogenic, crazy. Eggs cause high cholesterol. And then when they actually look back at everything, they actually see that it's not the fact of that the red meat actually causes cancer. It was the fact that, typically people who ate more plants and stuff they usually have a healthier diet. And so these people the red meat was probably from processed red meats and stuff. And it was an association, because they weren't saying, were you eating grass-fed steak or were you eating a Macca's cheeseburger? It was just red meat. And so...
which is mixed with all the other additives.
100%. So when you're reading the right places and stuff and like going to the right sources, like I know a few places like to look at, obviously like Jess Benlove's a great sports nutritionist. You like Huberman Labs, there's like, he's got heaps of podcasts, everything is evidence-based and stuff. So obviously we're basing everything off our own experiences and our own research, but it's also important that you do your own research and find what works best for you. Because anyone can tell you to do anything, but people have told us to do it, we've failed. We've got other opinions before that have worked, and so you have to make the effort to find what works best for you, but making sure that you're doing it in a way that you're skipping that journey of like having to fail and stuff and going to the right sources. So,
and there always will be a process of trial and error, same with training, but I'm gonna like boost myself up over here. The amount of girls, I only train females, who do come to me, try a program and they've never left because they know it works, because I know it works and I have evidence it's going to work. Food is a little bit different because everyone's gut microbiome and stuff is different, and exercises, not every exercise will work for the same person, but it's very easy to manipulate. Food is very personal, so even though yes, we are telling you to do this stuff and like this is how we think you should do it, it's all still going to be a little bit of personal experience. You are going to have to trial and error, but that's a better place to be in than just sitting there and not acknowledging it. It's a better place to be in than just sitting there and not acknowledging it.
Damn, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. We're almost done. We can wrap it up soon.
Yeah.
This fucking fly.
I know, this fly.
If you could just kindly leave.
Watching us. This is the government following us.
Yes, like, shut up.
Stop telling people
You ruined the plan.
100%.
We have a
with Jade as well. Like she's like, I think for both of us, like we've gone through the experience. Jade is obviously like you've got the body like to show for it that it works, and you've got clients that show for it works, and like your programs are evidence based. And it's the thing. It's not like you're just going on Instagram and seeing like, oh, this person says these are the 3 best exercises for glute growth, and you said it so much and stuff, and it's a massive hook. 100%.
Like it's like,
guys.
This is engagement.
100%. Like, this is the only exercise like for glute growth and stuff. But whereas if you go to someone who has evidence-based like research and stuff and programs that actually go into it, you that's when they will get the results. It's not following any trends. It's not following the current best glute exercise for glute growth. It's actually about being consistent, and sometimes as well, even though it doesn't seem the most flattering, consistency and doing the same shit over and over again.
It's just a fucking staple. Like, steak isn't always pretty. Like, you know, at home you can't make it look as great as someone else's restaurant. But that's the staples. Doing certain exercises for your glutes are the staples.
100%.
Yes, this other one that someone posted saying the best exercise in the world for glutes this month. Looks
month.
Because it changes every fucking month. Looks epic, and it actually engages you because it's like, that's so stupid, I want to do
100%.
that. Whereas me doing a squat, you're like, squat. That's what gets me the better bum, and that's why you keep looking back at my programs. It's like, it's that simple.
100%. And I think that's like what you were saying as well with nutrition. Like sometimes it isn't as simple, but just like Jade can't eat sweet potato and I can't eat fresh garlic. Like there's simple things like that will be different among everyone. But the general principle is that...
It's the same.
Yes.
It's the fucking
100%.
same.
Yeah.
You don't have to make it hard. It's literally training and nutrition, mindset, job, partners, life. It gets to be as simple as you let it be. If you let something be simple and you grow, you let it put you forward, you educate yourself, you learn, you keep learning, keep developing, it's simple. If you sit at something you've only learned 3 years ago and you stay there for the next 5 years, it's not going to be that simple because you're still stuck at 3 years ago. You're not learning anything, you're not doing anything to become that 1% better. And people have heard me talk about this. It doesn't matter what part of your life, if you're not trying to be 1% better, what are you doing?
100%.
Like,
and
what?
there's going to be different variables for everything, but in general, like we overcomplicate things. And so if you do all the simple things and find with each of the simple things what works best for you, it's as simple as you will make it to be. And that's that.
We fucking love it. It's
literally that is that.
Yeah.
We're gonna end the chat here
Yeah.
because we've been talking
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah.
And we've gone through so many topics and so many like little headers.
Yeah.
We're definitely gonna do a couple more, right?
100%.
This is peer pressure. She has to say yes. She's on camera.
100% on camera.
But we need more.
Help me.
We're gonna do more. Blink if you're not okay. But we're gonna do many more of these. But definitely like comment, like, share if you liked any of these. Because I personally want to do more. I think this is really good content. I think there's really good discussions to be having over nutrition, mindset, anything. And because we both have a different realm of like where our focus is, like mine's towards training, but I do focus on nutrition.
Yeah.
Bella's is more towards nutrition, but then focuses on training as well.
Yep.
And we can put them together and give you the best of both and get you the best educational aspect of both of them. I think it'll be very beneficial and it's free. You get to hear us chat, we get to have fun. Like it's so good for everybody. And I think that's a massive barrier for people as well. It's like, oh, it comes with a cost. Oh, I have to pay this. Oh, I have to pay that.
100%.
It's going to be free.
Yep.
It's going to be fucking free.
And
All you
knowledge
have
is
to do follow
power.
us. Yeah, knowledge is power. You just have to follow us, like
Yep.
our stuff so we can keep posting it and get better at it and know exactly what content you do or don't want and just feel the love so we can keep doing it and feel good about it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up there. We're all finished. Breakfast was fucking lovely, and as you could tell, it got our brains on fire. So that
Shit.
was good. Then there's my table,
Too strong.
and then there's the strength we're talking about. It's immediate. The strength from food is immediate.
100%.
She might go run out my door as soon as
To go for another jog, like, you know.
But thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed, and we'll be back soon.
Thanks, guys. Bye.